here really quickly. Can they hear us, though, is a good question. They can't hear us. Now they Hello. We're live. That was weird, and I'm learning how to do this all at once. Hello, and welcome to the Masters of Modern podcast. I'm your host, Alex Kessler, here with my co-host, Ben Bateman.
What's up, guys? How you doing? People in the chat are saying that sounded like my anxiety, so that's funny because it sounded crazy. We're here on this live stream to talk about some previews. Kaldheim, Vikings, all kinds of stuff.
So yeah, so due to like obviously the holiday season, we took 2 weeks off. This is the first episode, but we recorded an episode 2 days ago that's going to release next week, and recording schedules and la 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 la. We are doing this this preview episode live. This will be today's week, and the next week we'll get right into releasing content on our normally released schedule. Hey everybody in chat. So this is live. Ben will be handling the YouTube chat, and I am handling the Twitch chat. We're talking about Kaldheim, and just another plane in continuing Wizards' recent attempt at going to places that use vowels and consonants in ways that don't make sense, making my life extremely difficult. I want it to be Khaldeim. I want that H in a different place, but I'm not going to get my way.
Mispronouncing is standard fare.
Yeah. It's the me mispronouncing words is going to continue into modern times, which we're all excited about. That's my excited face. I'm incorporating cool PowerPoint technology into this situation, so we'll see how that goes.
Sick.
I'm going to move that. I know it has to be down there. So chat will slowly start showing up on screen alongside everything else that's going on. Below the logo. Oh, yeah, it's going to start popping up. I guess I could move it up so that it's visible. And then using the power of me knowing what I'm doing. Always suspect. There we go. It should now show up.
I see nothing.
It's like weirdly stretched, actually. So let me just unstretch it.
Am I supposed to see something on my Discord screen?
No. It's in the broadcast. We're broadcasting. It's called broadcast.
Look at that.
There's a movie about
Technology.
it. At least one.
Technology.
Isn't it? It's called Broadcast, right? That's a movie? Maybe. Who knows?
Broadcast. There's a movie called Broadcast News. Have you ever heard of that movie?
Yeah, we are broadcasting. I guess this is broadcasting and not broadcasting.
Broadcasting.
Hello, everyone. We're super hyped and excited to do all of the things. And about Kaldheim. This set's really cool. So we did a whole episode that comes out next week that's going to be really much about like all of the cards that came out before this moment. We're going to talk about a few of them maybe today just because it's relevant to what's going on. And then also there will be a small conversation about leaks, both about how do we feel about leaks, as well as talking about some of the leak cards with big spoiler warnings ahead of it. Some of them have already been previewed today, so we'll actually touch upon some of those again. So there'll be some double up content. So without us diving too deep into stuff, Ben, what are your first? Where are you at emotionally? Both about Kaldheim and then.
A few different things. Number one, I love snow. I'm a big fan of snow. I played in the Ice Age days. It was the final set in my first run playing Magic the Gathering when I was a small child, because Ice Age must have come out when I was 8. And I played from like 6 to 8, and then I took a break for a few years. So seeing a lot of snow stuff is sweet. I just like snow in general, and that's really cool. I like that they're combining different themes. So like the god stuff, it is interesting that it took so many years for gods to enter Magic as like a piece of Magic, but where there are now a lot of gods, and it's a cool thing. It's like a cool little twist that they've come up with, where they pretty much 100% of the time are not they're not a creature or whatever until something happens. Like that's been like the history, but they just continue to evolve the concept. So now we have these gods in this set that have kind of a different flavor, and it's interesting that they're just. Anyway, all that said, I think that's really cool. Yep. I'm excited about that.
We'll jump into the gods,
and I've liked a lot of the cards.
Yeah. We'll jump into the gods in like more as we look at some of the previews. I think that I agree with you. I love snow. It was cool that Modern Horizons are like the modern podcasts set du jour was like snow themed, and I thought like it's continued. I don't know if you know this. My bar mitzvah theme was snow. It had nothing to do with Magic. I just like really loved snow as a kid. I like grew up. I was born in Youngstown, Ohio, and then moved to LA when I was 5. And it was like just enough time living in a place where snow is happening, where I like fell in love with all of the good parts, where you get to play with it, snowball fights, and like days off of school, snow days. And I didn't have to deal with any of the bad parts of snow, the freezing cold, you shoveling snow, your car getting covered in stuff, having to walk in snow between buildings, and so. I was like obsessed with that as a kid, to the extent that like to this day, Bobby Drake, Iceman from the X-Men, is my favorite X-Men by a wide margin, and maybe one of my favorite superheroes. If he would get a good movie, I would be maybe able to escalate him up to that level. So like,
I mean, X2 is really sweet. He's great in X2.
Yeah, he's really good.
Right?
X2 is like is still up there. There's a car alarm. Welcome to live broadcasting.
Welcome to live in Los Angeles.
There's
No,
just,
I mean
like,
that's
nothing
one
I
of the
can do
best
about it.
X-Men movies. X2 is probably top three,
Yeah.
two.
Like first class X-Men.
Logan.
Like
Logan's the best, but then-
outside of the because like top 5. There's only like there's 15, so that's not embarrassing.
Would you agree Logan is number one, or
Yeah.
you don't like it as much as I do?
No, I think Logan's in contention for top 5 superhero movies of all time.
I think it's contention for top 3, 2 even. It might just be my favorite ever. It's that, Dark Knight, and like 1 or 2 others.
Well, where
Spider-Verse.
so,
That'd be like the 3, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's. This is not the podcast episode to talk about our top 5 favorite superhero movies as much as we both really want to talk about it. But yes, it is definitely up. I think top 5 would be where I would put it safely. I think getting to the top 3, I'd have to think about it because there's like weird stuff, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
asking the
wouldn't wanna
chat
jump
what's
into
their
it.
top 3 X-Men movie. You guys can sound off. We'll loop back. Let's talk Magic.
Yes. So, love snow. Love that snow's around. Hate that this car alarm is going on in the background. I guess we
shame.
can
It's a
talk
damn
about superhero movies. That's on
It's
me,
gone.
right? It's no, it's still here.
Oh, it's still going. I mean, I only barely hear it.
Okay,
so I
if
think
you
let's
only
just keep-
barely hear
let's
it, then I
just-
think the world is. I'll turn this down a little bit. Maybe
It's annoying, but it's like not that annoying.
Okay.
It picks up a lot less than you think.
All right, let us know if it's so unbearable that you want us to just like not talk about relevant things. As we were talking about this set and snow, yeah, love snow, love that it's back. It's a cool permanent type. I like the more it is around, the more I like it because the more relevant it is. It's kind of one of those things that like it's the way it's been used in the past. 2 times it was a dud. The last time it was maybe too strong. It'd be interesting to see where they come out on it. What's cool, there's some new snow stuff. I'm excited by gods. Yeah, I agree. I think it's really cool when they do them. It's definitely one of the sweeter. Like they keep like hitting with bangers. It's like super resonant. One of the reasons they didn't do gods for so long was just that like religious groups, like magic got bled into the like the D&D terror of like the 80s. There's like the whatever panic. And like there's actually a really good for Halloween. I'm forgetting the name of the channel, but there was a YouTube channel that did a really, really good interview on and like a breakdown. There we go. The alarm's gone. Really good. Now my brain won't be distracted. Like a breakdown on like magic's relationship with like demons in the beginning, and they had the upside down pentagram in unholy strength or whatever, and then they like ran away and like no demons in the magic. Angels were like everything was removed.
More. The pentagram was removed. If you have those old unholy strengths, that's just like an interesting thing to talk about really quickly that I was thinking about. It's weird how there'll be these relics of like past eras when things were just sort of okay. Not even okay, but just like something that was cool and edgy seemed like it was cool and edgy, so it worked in like a media or like a piece of content.
Mm-hmm.
And you look back and you're like, who actually thought that this wasn't going to be a problem? Like who looked at each other in like the meeting to make this product and was just like, yeah, this won't be an issue. There's like a really inappropriate original cover to Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, which is like one of the 10 most famous rock albums of all time. And the original cover to that album has like a pretty horrific image on the back, which I won't speak about what it is, but it was like printed. It was like that was going to go to press. And if anybody here is interested, just go look it up. I'm not going to talk about it, but it's one of those things where you're like, who looked at each other and was like, yeah, we should just put this out. Let's go sell this. This will totally work, right? And then of course they have to pull it and like print a new album, and it's the same thing with so many of these things. Always kind of blows my mind. But yes, the God stuff I know was a little close to home with some of that stuff, and Magic had that issue for a long time. There have been a number of different instances in the mid 90s when it first popped up. So I imagine they were just like, we don't want to deal with the potentially bad press that could come with this.
Yeah, they avoided religious stuff for a long time, and in hindsight now we're like, oh, that was dumb. They shouldn't have avoided it. But then on your point, like there's things you'd think about. Yeah, I go back and forth on it, but I do think it's cool that they're here, and Theros started it, and I like how every single time they've done something differently. And then we found out a lot today about the world of Kaldheim. So there's 10 realms. That's kind of the whole, and that plays in like the 9 realms of Asgard, right? And it feels to me like it's a bunch of 2-color combos. It feels like it's going to be a loose 2-color combo situation. It might not be too heavily enforced. We do know from some of the stuff we saw before that like we saw basically what ends up, and basically their 10 realms and 10 creatures are like the rulers of those realms, and it looks like they all have some amount of color combos where like blue white is spirits, giants are blue red, elves are black green, shapeshifters are blue green, dwarves are red white. And so we know kind of some of these color combos, and I'm assuming it's going to just fill out the remainder of the color differences, right? We'll get all 2 color combos. We'll get like one of these tribes as its like central focus, and one of these worlds, and it's kind of setting up a little bit of like and you know, Vornaclux was finally previewed today. Thank you, Side Norna. Vornaclux was previewed today officially. So we can now talk about that. Like, I think that there's thinness within the plane of Kaldheim. Like, there's Kaldheim. Something that allows for multiple plane pockets to kind of exist around this tree, and whatever that magic is, it feels like Tybalt is taking advantage of it, but we'll find out. We haven't gotten that information yet, and next week's episode we'll go a little bit more in deep on my theories until we find out. But it does, this 10 realms situation feels like maybe the way that's happening.
Well, and we do have, I mean, obviously we do get a little bit of what's going on with the Tybalt card that we are going to talk about today on the episode.
Yes. Now of the creature types, which one are you most excited to get some more tribal cards for?
More tribal support. I mean, giants are pretty sweet. There's not that much support for giants historically, like, and it's definitely just kind of a cool, flavorful thing. Read it. What are they one more time? You have giants.
We have giants in blue red, angels / Valkyries in white black. Elves are black green. Shapeshifters are blue green. Dwarves are red white, and then I'm never going to say that word correctly. Draugr, the Draugr. Okay, sure. Which looks like a statue holding an axe. From the small image we have available, humans, trolls, demons, and spirits.
So, I mean, I think for me, like, spirits are obviously one that I've always liked. I think a lot of people who play the style of Magic, enjoy that. And then I would say just generally shapeshifters. I mean, changeling is a mechanic I've always really liked. Anytime they play with it, I know it's dangerous to play with. That's not lost on me, that every time they do, it's always like you have to be careful to not just do something that's like stupid and just. I think Unsettled Mariner is a great example of a card that was right on the edge of like a little bit, but like was just right and was sweet and like a really cool card they printed. But I could see like leaning into cards like that too many times and sort of just convoluting the specialness of like different tribes. Like you don't want to take away how cool it is when a specific tribe gets a specific thing by giving the changeling version that's better than like all the other ones. And so, yeah, but I think probably shapeshifter, giants, spirits, those are the 3 for me.
Yeah, chat's yelling at us for not knowing what a Draugr is, since apparently they're in Skyrim and God of War, 2 games I've definitely never played. I've tried playing Skyrim, and it's all fetch quests. I hate it. If you can tell me what they are, like physically what they're supposed to be, that would be cool, chat. Michael's in the chat.
How would you pronounce it if you gun to your head right now? You had to pronounce it correctly. What's your attempt?
Draugr.
Draugr, okay, that's a good. I don't know if I know much better than you. The chat over here is
zombies, basically.
The chat over here on YouTube is saying that they want to raise the volume to hear more of the car alarm, and we've got a Logan First Class Deadpool, and then we have somebody remarking that it's Hayden remarking that album cover is in fact insane. So that's what we got going on.
So. And we mentioned it, Snow is back, and they have this really cool Snow frame, and they've said moving forward, Snow permanents that are reprinted will use like the Snow frame they've developed, so they're going to be frosty. Bunch of cool new planes. It does. What's cool about this border for these that I like is it does give me a reason. It would be really hard for me not to use full art lands if it just was like a regular Snow land, right? Like I love full art lands when I can, but this is something new and different that I think is really cool. But go.
Yeah, you're talking about these cool frosty snowlands. I mean, these just the images, not even seeing these actually in foil, but just the idea of having these in foil seems so sweet.
Yeah,
like I want all of them in my deck.
Well, yeah, like snow stuff looks so like if it has this border, I can imagine it looking really good in foil and having even more of that like ice feel to it, which is really
Yeah,
cool.
right.
But
Yeah, for sure.
even spicier on the snow world, we got at common fetchable snow duels.
So this is the first of the big things to talk about. And the funny thing about this is it's not actually that big to talk about for like a format like standard or even really to some degree modern unless there's a really powerful snow deck that you decide to do. I mean, I could see situations where these are specifically interesting, but where these are really sweet and where these are I think the coolest is eternal formats, 100 card formats like Commander, like Highlander Gauntlet, formats where you want to have as many of those lands you can search for with fetches in your deck as you possibly can, and getting one more every time they print one of these, it's especially cool. Now they've done a lot of them now, so it's not like it was the first time. Like when Tango Lands or Battle Lands, whatever the hell they're called, got printed, I think we all were like, oh wow, like, we get a third one now. But now you've had those, you've had the Cycle Lands, there's the Tri Lands, there's a bunch now.
I think like fetchable snow permanents is like a thing. Like I think like now being able to play fetch lands in a deck that wants to have snow cards in it allows these to be better than just like battle lands, because like without that text they are worse than battle lands. I think in standard they'll be good because there's enough like forest matter cards or check lands or those kind of things, or especially in historic. But but in modern, I think the relevance here is the fact that you can use this with Dead of Winter, right? You can play.
I gotta mute myself. I'm sorry, I have to mute myself for a second.
Yeah, it's fine. I can talk through this as I get through it. You can play stuff like this, like with Dead of Winter, where you're able to have Dead of Winter in Jund and not only be able to play with basic, the one fetch land that can find snow lands, or just only playing with basic. So I think that's pretty sweet, and just they're really pretty as well, and they're a common. This is the first time we've had something that's like a dual land at common ever, which is like a really fascinating place to have put these, and in an interesting place for dual lands that like they could have made this rare and people would complain, and now that these are not rare, it's sweet. I'm gonna move. Ben's got a phone call. I'm gonna move past it, and we're gonna talk about Frostbite. Oh, we lost Ben entirely. He's gone. We've lost him.
I'll be back.
Ben will be back. Frostbite. So, chat, what do you think of the snow lands? Well, I'll do the last piece of the snow conversation. The other new thing is instants and sorceries that are snow, which is weird because I definitely didn't realize that they hadn't printed snow instants and sorceries before.
Really? There's never been a snow instant or sorcery?
Yeah, I had no idea today. That was like they said it, and I was like, oh, I guess, yeah, sure.
Dead of Winter isn't specifically a snow sorcery. It's just like a card that references snow or something.
Yeah. It's just do -1/-1 to all creatures for how many snow permanents you control. Regular sorcery.
Do you think that they go back and errata like a couple cards to make them snow permanents?
Maybe.
Like, do you think Dead of Winter and Skred become snow spells?
They've been much more willing to backtrack errata cards recently.
Yeah.
I think the world of just everyone having a cell phone and being able to like prove things to people, and so often that stuff doesn't matter, right? Like.
Like Skred is a snow permanent, right? Like, how is Skred not a snow permanent?
Snow spell.
Or sorry, a snow spell. Like that is the definition of a snow spell.
Right. And that's kind of the point, right? Like for people that have them, that the ability doesn't matter, right? They can play Magic as Skred has always played, and they'll never care. And then for some people, when they get a snow permanent that cares, like every time you cast a snow spell, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature or something, right? Then they look it up and they're fine, and then they just have to explain to their opponent and use their phone and be like, hey, here, this is what it looks like now. Sorry. I do know that there's a bunch of cards being like the way they do the collector packs or whatever that have the list of reprint cards that are like set themed reprints. Those will, I know, like for instance, we saw today that Under the Ice Merit Liege land.
Dark Depths
is going to be included, so we do know that they're going to be reprinting a bunch of cool old snow stuff. So we might get Skred with updated text. I do think so. Like a boss, the one thing I will say is they're commons, right? Like they're not meant to be the most exciting lands ever printed.
Yeah.
Or you mean the basic land arts? Oh, really? Okay. I kind of really like these. I don't know. I disagree.
I think they're all. I mean, I honestly think they're all really cool. I'm excited to play with all of them.
Yep. What do you think? Like, because like snow was kind of OP out of Modern Horizons, right? Like that was definitely an issue.
It was really
How do
good.
you feel about just like? Are you worried that snow is becoming more of an actual thing and could become more too dominant?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, there was a couple things. There was a couple things that like pushed Snow hard as being like really powerful, and one card in particular that is banned. But in general, other than that one card, and the thing is, that card would have been really powerful. They could have templated that card to be powerful without it being a Snow card. It just was. They just didn't take it like right, like Astrolab obviously was really good because of Snow. I mean, that's what they decided to push. But there was like 10 other things they could have done to print that card that didn't have to make it Snow, and it still would have been really good. It was just a 1-mana artifact that came in and drew a card, like major mana really good. They've printed similar things to that in the past. It's just it's a prophetic prism, right? Except it costs 1 and it's Snow instead of costing 2. So
I think people's complaint, and this was definitely a complaint of mine, like there was a point after Modern Horizons where playing with non-snow lands was actively bad, right?
Yeah.
Like you were now like you no longer got to choose which basics you got to play. You just had to play with snow lands because there was enough of an incentive, or if there wasn't, there was enough of an incentive, or even just enough of a like bluff. Right, they like printed enough cards that like Dead of Winter, where by me playing black snowlands, my opponents might think, oh, he's playing cards that I now have to play around. That is an advantage. Otherwise, why would he be playing it? And then you had like Field of the Dead, where now you want to split. I just think like they need to. It's harder in internal formats with Snow to make sure that the snow lands aren't just better basics. And in standard it's better because you can have like more hate cards that are just good in a standard environment, but once you get into modern it's a little weirder. So I am a little worried about it. We'll see what happens. The other alternative is just seeing Snow more often, right? Like then it doesn't matter.
More
it's just
Snow.
a part of Magic.
Yeah, but I think it'll be okay. I mean, I definitely I like Snow. I just think it's generally cool. They just have to remember when they print a card like Astrolab, like just, there's a reason that card. Again, wasn't that hard to look at that card and figured that it was going to be a problem. I think you and I could have probably figured that out pretty early on. I guess we didn't call it when we did the previews. We definitely talked about it, but we weren't like, oh, this is going to be an issue.
Right.
So maybe it's easier to miss.
Next, this isn't really a card. This is we have had a few Planeswalker preview. This is the one we haven't seen yet. I'm not remembering their name because I forgot to write it down like a monster. So hopefully chat figures it out. But there's one more Planeswalker yet to be revealed. It's an elf that wants to be a hero of old vibe. Well, we're gonna find out more about them later. They have a lot of, if I remember correctly in the story, they have very Thor-y vibes. Like where
are you talking about Nico, or are you talking about the one that hasn't been previewed yet?
The one, oh, so you can't see what's on my screen, on the screen. That's right, because I'm not sharing with you because it would mess up the screen. It's the other one that hasn't been previewed yet, the elf.
Got it. Okay.
But they have very, like, they're a warrior who wants to band with their teammates and go into battle. They're like very Thor-y, I think, and we're gonna find out who they are later. Though we did get Nico today. Nico Aris. They are X white blue legendary planeswalker Nico. When Nico Aris enters the battlefield, create X shard tokens. And shard tokens are enchantments that enchantment tokens that you can so for 2 mana and sacrifice it, you can scry one and draw a card. So they're like better clue tokens, which is really, really sweet. And then the +1 up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Whenever that creature does damage this turn, return it to your owner's hand. -1, Nico deals 2 damage to target tapped creature for each card you've drawn this turn. And then -1, one more time, create a shard token. They are the first non-binary planeswalker. They are from Theros. They're like a cool... They are an athlete who is like showing the blue-white side of like perfecting themselves, like learning to be the best that no one ever was, and to catch them is your real test. And so their spark sparked, if I remember correctly, because they didn't want to, like, they were destined to win a championship, and by the red-green god that I'm forgetting the name of, and they were like, nope, don't want to do that, peace. And then they like planeswalked away and are now gallivanting around the world and the multiverse, just trying to maximize that sports potential. I think the card's really good. I like that it's like Sorry, go.
I think Nico's really cool. Yeah, I was gonna. Why did I think that Ashiok was the first non-binary
They are, but they are not a human.
planeswalker? I thought that had happened.
Ashiok is
Ashiok is not a human.
Yeah. Sorry, there's delay. Now we're talking over each other. But yes, so Ashiok was the first non-binary planeswalker. Nico is the first human.
Okay, got it. Okay. But yes, I think this card's really cool. It's also, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the first X planeswalker. Am I right about that, or am I forgetting?
No, Nissa.
Nissa. Which Nissa?
Blue green Nissa out of Amonkhet.
Yeah, right.
Thank you for the follow, Shadow Cloak.
Yeah, and for all those watching right now, there's a handful of you guys watching on YouTube right now, but there's only 6 likes. So if you guys, there's 5 times as many of you guys watching. If you guys want to hit that thumbs up button, do us a favor. That'd be awesome. Hit that thumbs up button. Let's keep talking.
For sure. Yeah, I don't know. I really like this card. I think like it has like mini Sphinx's Reb vibes, right? It comes in, it can kill a thing. It comes in, it like can come in, create things that draw you a card. Come in, giving your creature a way to break damage through, and kind of as long as you're playing with cards that have ETB effects, also draws you a card, right? It brings it back to your hand, and then they can also always just be a removal spell. So I think that's like really powerful. The fact that they're a 3-mana planeswalker base level and then they can kind of do their thing is always really, really strong. And I mean, we've said it on this podcast hundreds of times. The fact that this scales up and down is it like the fact that this is good on turn 3 and great on turn 7 is like something, especially in blue white, that'd be really, really, really relevant. I think this card's really sweet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of really cool things that Nico's going to be able to do combined with other powerful cards. I mean, Nico combined with like a Jace the Mind Sculptor, for instance, just means that that minus ability when you draw the 3 off the Brainstorm, you can take advantage of. In fact, just Brainstorm with this card in older formats, period, is pretty powerful.
Right.
The minus ability, right? Like minus to deal 4 somewhere. Or more potentially if you've drawn more cards. Seems really, really dope. Yeah, shard tokens are also awesome because they're permanents. They can interact with other things on the battlefield. Obviously, enchantment strategies get helped by them, drastically. And then you have the bounce a creature aspect of this card that is interesting, which is like seemingly in the last few years, there's just been like a lot more leaning into like ETBs and things like that. Seems like Magic Magic seems to really like the idea that you get value off of creatures when they enter the battlefield, and finding ways to continue to loop and abuse that seems to be one of the play patterns that they really like to push. And this is like another card that plays into that.
Yeah, it has super Swiss Army knife vibes that I love, right? Like it does a little bit of everything. It protects you, it kills creatures, it draws you cards, it gets damage in. Those are all really strong, and it does it at 3 mana, it does it at 6 mana. I am actually really impressed with this card, / a little afraid. I think it actually is better than people maybe even giving it credit for. And then add to the fact that like Nico, alongside some of the constellation cards from any of the constellation sets, right? Like the fact that you get ETB triggers on enchantments or enchantment matters cards is a whole other level as well. All right, now third planeswalker and segue into gods. We got our boy Tibalt. He's looking good.
Interesting card. One of our flip cards. We got the white god we talked about yesterday, or I suppose that'll be coming out next week, but when we recorded it.
And we'll talk about the white god in a second. So but continue.
Now Tibalt, there's a blue one. So we're the whole cycle that you and I were speculating about, what are they going to be like? We are starting to actually see that. So Tibalt, a very interesting card. Go ahead, talk about what it is.
Yeah. So it's a 7 mana, 5 red-black legendary planeswalker. Tibalt. Planeswalker comes down at 5 loyalty. As Tibalt enters the battlefield, you get an emblem with you may play cards exiled with Tibalt, Cosmic Impulse, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to play those. So basically, any cards in exile you can play, but use any mana. +2 is exile the top card of each player's library. -3 exile target artifact or creature, and -8 exile all cards from all graveyards. Add red. So the in reality it's +2 draw a card. You get access to that. -3 steal a thing / destroy a thing if you have the mana if you don't have the mana to cast it, and then an ultimate that lets you just draw every single card in all graveyards and creating like a secondary hand, and then you get some mana to cast those spells if you want. 7 mana. I think we're gonna discuss the flip side, which is really the power level of this card. This is cool, and the fact that this can be your commander because of the other side is really cool. And I'm wondering if all of the flip cards that are not lands are gods in this set. It almost feels like that is what's going to be the case, where there's going to be a lot of gods. That's like the thing with Norse mythology, right? Is like Asgard is a city of gods. And so there could be a lot more gods in this set than maybe we thought. But they all are. That's what the flip cards are going to be. They're going to be all like creatures that can be god creatures that can be other stuff on the other side. Now, Tybalt's hiding as Valky, God of Lies, also our Loki analogous character. And Valky is 1 and a black, legendary creature god. When Valky enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand. For each opponent, exile a creature card they revealed this way until Valky leaves the battlefield. You may then pay X, choose a creature card exiled with Valky with converted mana cost X. Valky becomes a copy of that card. They are a 2/1. So, the
Uro.
best. What?
Uro. That's all I have to say.
Uro? Oh, the fact that.
So Valky takes Uro out of their hand, and then for 3 becomes a copy of Uro.
Oh,
and
yes.
then you attack, and you draw a card and put a land into play. Seems real good.
And it's just a copy. So Valky does lose this ability though. They get to do it once.
Yeah.
It's not like other ones that kind of have done that in the past. This card's insane. This is the like Kitesail Freebooter is a modern staple. You have like the Brain Maggot has seen play. The Artifact, the white black one that I'm forgetting has seen tons of play. Like Tidehollow Scholar. Like the in a 2/1 for 2 that does the Thoughtseize thing is real good. A 2/1 for 2 that does the Thoughtseize thing and draws you that card because you get to play it as a creature if it's a creature card is also insane. And one of those that in the late game is also your boy Tybalt. I'm so hyped on this card. This card is so sweet. Tybalt's finally good.
I mean, yeah, the scalable nature of Valky is definitely really like very good. The idea that in a competitive 1v1 game you play this card on turn 2 as just a 2/1 that it gives you some advantage that like if you just happen to be just drawing at the end of the game. I mean, imagine playing this card in a Highlander deck. Like this is like the ideal card in my Highlander decks where I love everything to be so cheap. You're telling me that late game I can draw a 7-mana Planeswalker?
Yep.
Like I'll just draw a 7-mana Planeswalker.
Well, it
seems real solid.
It fixes the main problem with these creatures, right? Like in decks that are playing Kitesail Freebooter and Brain Maggot, if you draw it on turn 5, oftentimes they just don't have cards in their hand anymore, or all the cards they have left are like the bad ones. Maybe you get some interaction. And they normally can then kill it and get it back. They can't kill it, right? If this dies, they don't get it back. And you get to use that card. And then late game, you don't have to play it. When they have no cards in hand, you get a sweet 7-drop that draws you cards every turn or just like exiles a permanent. I think this card's really sweet. The other thing that we haven't really touched upon is it can be a planeswalker. It can be your commander. So like all of the gods can do that. But this is another one where you can have it in the command zone and you can choose either half. You can have Tybalt come down turn 7 or the 2 side. And this side's really good. It exiles target cards from all opponents. So it's not just, it scales up with how many people you're playing with. Card sweet. Super hyped.
Really sweet.
Interesting that like Tybalt disguises himself as this guy and like goes less handsome. He de-escalates how good looking he is based on, it's weird. The other god, the god that was previewed before is Halvar, and that's kind of on that conversation of like, and this is what we talk about next week on the podcast is we had the discussion that each of the gods are going to be a different permanent type, possibly. And it looks like the black one, if there's only 5 or like 1 per color, the black one becomes a planeswalker. The white one becomes a sword, and then we have the blue one as well today. But really hyped on the sword as well. Anything on the white or black or the Loki?
No, I mean I think like both cards are really sweet that we just talked about. There's only one more that has now been revealed in the same cycle. So, what do you What do you think of this blue dude?
So I like found it as I was making this PowerPoint 5 minutes before we went live. So I haven't read it. So I'm going to read it out loud right now and then like react live. Allrund, God of the Cosmos, is 3 blue legendary creature god. Allrund gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand and each foretold card you own in exile. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type, then reveal the top card of your library. Put all cards of the chosen type into your hand. Or reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards of the chosen type into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And then the flip side is Haka, Whispering Raven, 1 in a blue, 2/3. Bird, flying. Whenever Haka, Whispering Raven deals combat damage to a player, return it to its owner's hand, then scry 2. That's sweet. I like that Haka can be played early and then eventually will get you to the point where you then can play the other half
if you want to.
And there's also the play pattern where you can, on turn 5, attack with Haka, hit them, show that you have 2 sorceries on top of your deck. Haka gets back to your hand, pay Allrund as the 5-drop, and then at the end of that turn, it'll reveal the top 2 cards. You get to draw those 2 cards, so you can like.
Agreed.
It like combos.
That's
to
one of
draw
the
2 cards.
Yeah. That aspect of the card's design is really cool. That's like really special and sort of unique, and sets up nicely to, I think, make up for the fact that some of the like 5-drop side of this card is just a little clunky, in my opinion. The 5-drop side of this card is kind of good. It's powerful, but it is just a little clunky. Like, it's probably going to come down most of the time as like. If it's a control deck, maybe it's going to come down as like a 7/7, but most of the time I feel like this is going to come down as like a 4/4, something like that. It's like a 4/4 for 5 that like probably, maybe, I don't know. Just, if you don't set it up, then I feel like this card's a little underwhelming.
Yeah, I think it is I think the bird half is like it's a combo, right? It's the fact that you get both. You get split cards. The Haka side, the Raven side is always going to be like really good, I think. Like a flying 2/3. Even though it like bounces every turn, but then on the other side, it being a 5-drop beater is maybe just something that's relevant that does draw you cards, right? Like there's a way to let it draw you cards. I think it's good. I agree that so far of the 3 of them, it's the least exciting. But it feels smart. I feel smart playing it in my head already. Like it
agreed.
does cute things.
Jean-Philippe Legacy here in the chat says, turn 2, exile Uro, turn 3, turn it into an Uro and attack. It's
Valky?
pretty much the sweetest. Yeah, that's the sweetest thing I can do.
Yes, that is. I mean, in Modern, if we want to talk about it, I'd rather get Primeval Titan personally.
But it costs 6. You have to turn it into a Primeval Titan for 6.
It's the converting mana cost. Oh no, you're right. Uro's the best.
So that's why Uro's so good, because you can do Uro. Now, if I steal your Mirror Superior and I can turn into Mirror Superior for 2, pretty strong.
That's true.
Strong.
And in Historic, you could do like a cool combo of like Valky and I guess you have to be. It's not your own. Because there's the other one, right? There's the Demir Commander does like the cool combo with Uro, where it can do it from your graveyard.
Lazav, I was gonna say Lazav does that, but then also maybe I play this and you happen to have a Phyrexian Dreadnought in your hand, hopefully, and for 1 I can turn this into Dreadnought. That'd be sick.
Yep. So those are the 3 gods we've seen so far. So the big question I have is, are we going to get 5 monocolored gods? Are we going to get a bunch of different gods? We could get like a god per one of those realms, right? Like there's 10 realms, maybe there are 10 gods. The fact that they like are these modal spells, are we going to get we have not seen a modal spell so far that isn't one of the lands or a god. So that's the other thing that's a little weird, is that it could be just only the modal dual face cards from this set are just the gods, and there's a lot of them. Croxa ain't bad either. Yeah, Croxa just is worse than Uro. Like if I'm wishing on a dream.
Exactly. But there's multiple of those cards, and eventually someday they're definitely going to print the other cards in the Uro Croxa cycle.
I'm worried they're going to be worse though. I think it's going to be like a return to the creature lands on Zendikar, where they're like, oh, this first time they were way too strong. Let's make them all bad.
Yeah, probably. That's a good point.
I think that's my big question, and then we'll find that out literally in the next 7 days. Hopefully, is like, are there 5 gods? Are there more gods? And then are the gods, because the one thing I feel like is like the red one's going to be the one that finds vehicles, right? Like based on vehicles seem to be featured in the set in a real way. It looks like we're getting different permanent types with Planeswalker being included, like a vehicle enchantment and a green enchantment, a red vehicle seem to be like the other two likely options. And then are these the three gods, or are we going to get more?
Yeah.
Next, not a god, but a praetor. We got Vorniclex, Monstrous Rider. Trample Haste. If you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many counters of those counters on the permanent player instead. If a opponent would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, they put half that many of each of those kinds of counters on a permanent or player instead, rounded down. Vorniclex is on this plane. We go through in depth next week on like what
exactly
how we think we do, and Ben made me sad because he walked away when I tried explaining the story details.
I was listening the whole time.
I didn't know that. I thought I was talking at a wall. And then, but I do think so. So there's like there's confusion on who's hunting Vorniclex, or so like Kaya is on the plane hunting someone, and they said that there's this hint at it, and it looks like it's probably Vorniclex, but people are arguing that maybe it's someone else. We don't know yet. Like a boss says, Phyrexians bring Ragnarok. Sometime, maybe next time, calling it now. That's possible too, right? Like that's always the apocalypse that eventually hits. There's always like a big apocalyptic moment that is always a part of Norse mythology, known as Ragnarok, and Phyrexia could be going there next. That would be interesting that they like made this set to create the battleground that will become where like New Phyrexia versus everyone else happens. And because it's
that's
like
a cool idea.
It's like it is the world. Like this tree has the ability to bring stuff from other planes, obviously, because Vorniclex is here. So maybe it also allows like heroes from other worlds that we like to come and join in on the fight and do some damage. Like most importantly, probably the Weatherlight crew. If we want to talk about characters that can't planeswalk that are relevant to the Phyrexian story, Joyra showing up and just fighting some Phyrexians on Kaldheim sounds dope. I would be down.
I would love more Joyra. You know me.
Yep.
But that sounds sweet. Well, so we got to jump off here in just a couple minutes. So what's like one more awesome one that we want to chat about?
We can go some quick ones. There's like some giant tribal story cards. This one lets you scry 2, and then you draw a card if you reveal a giant card. So it's really good at blue-red if you have a giant, and it's like one of the things that it feels like they're like building early game stuff that like are giant tribally, that then when you have giants late game are really good. We have a Blinding of the Old Gods, which is a destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls, which is really good for 2 black and a green, and then you ramp on your next turn, and then creatures you control gain Death Touch on your next turn. So just like a really good mid-range removal in story. We have the Foretold conversation, which we do in a little bit next week. Behold the Multiverse was the really cool one that came out. This is the one that like reduced the cost. So 2, you exile this from your hand.
Draw 2.
Foretell 1 in a blue. So it's for 2 mana instant speed. If you pay 2 mana on your turn at instant speed later, you can scry 2, then draw 2 cards, which is like very strong for 2 mana and 4 mana over 2 turns. We got a cool bird. We got a wolf that draws you a card when it ETBs. There's more tribal cards. Elvish Warmaster was one of the ones previewed today. 1 and a green for a 2/2. Whenever one or more other elves enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. So it's just like you get a token once a turn for every elf that enters play. It's not as explosive as like some older versions of this card, but it's definitely good for more modern and forward, because that they don't have the access to that card, and it does build up tokens over time. And it does include itself the turn it enters, right? Whenever it enters the battlefield under control, whenever one or more other elves. So it doesn't count itself, which is...
Doesn't count itself, yeah. It only triggers the once. But it is really sweet. I mean, the fact that it's scalable and that it has the infinite mana sink built into it is very strong.
Yep.
That's definitely a big part of the card.
And then Glimpse the Cosmos, which is another one of those giant cards where you cast it to look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, the rest on the bottom, but then you can flash it back for 1 as long as you control a giant. And then you exile it. And then some tribal ones. As Reflections of Litjara enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, copy that spell. That includes they've like now leaned in, committed that like copying a spell works because you make tokens. That was something they like did with Commander Legends, and it is I think now just in the rules that like if you copy something on the stack, if it's a permanent, you get a token. If it's a creature, you get or if it's a spell or instant, you get a copy of that on the stack.
Yeah.
And then this one I thought you would be pretty hyped. So we also got Boast and Varagoth the Bloodsky Sire. 2 and a black, 2/3 death touch. Target player searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library, and you may put that card on top of it. For 1 and a black, you can vamp tutor.
Vamp
Tutor.
So it's a 2/3 for 3 that you can bait them into blocking because it has death touch. So worst case scenario, it's just like a removal spell or something like that. But then if they don't, and it's only activate this ability.
No, you can
only if a creature attack this turn and only once each turn. So you can even do it before damage.
Yeah. You can attack, boast, damage. Their thing dies. You tutored a card. They killed your creature, but you got a card out of it for your next turn. Or just
sweet.
Attack with any other creature. It doesn't have to be. It's not whenever Vargoth attacks. It's whenever if a creature attacked this turn, you can do this. So as long as you have any 2-drop. Or any other creature, he just sits back and tutors you the next best card in your deck every turn.
What's interesting about this card, and what I think is so deceptive, and maybe this will be my last thing to talk about here before we jump, but what I think is so interesting about this card is that 1 black and 2 for a 2/3 death touch is not a card that we would play. Like neither you or I would play just that card in a deck. It's fine, but it's not a good card. So the fact that it has this ability built into it, the next turn, so now for a cumulative total of 5 mana. You are going to 5 mana to vamp tutor and put the card on top for the next turn. So you lose a draw. It takes you 2 turns to get the card. Totally cool, but very reminiscent of why Liliana Vess having the vamp tutor built into it initially wasn't just totally bonkers, busted, insane. It was like totally good, and anytime you would draw it, you'd be happy. But it wasn't like you're telling me that I get 2 vamp tutors with this card for nothing. It's like 5 mana. And waiting a turn is a lot. That's a big cost. The thing that makes Vamp Tutor so good is it's instant, cost 1.
And I do think also that, but I do think a creature 2/3 death touch is better to have in play than a 5 mana planeswalker that makes your opponent discard cards, and you don't get the tutor, right? Like I think this is better than that Liliana. And that's saying a lot. That Liliana saw a lot of standard play, has seen commander play forever.
That Liliana's great.
This card feels very pushed. So I think this card's super, super exciting. And then the one thing someone in the chat did just to touch upon Vornaclex a little bit more. We do a whole conversation next week. There'll be a video on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/MMCast. If you're watching now, please, on the YouTube side, like and subscribe. If you're on this side, on the Twitch side, please follow. We do Commander content every Monday night at 7:30 PST. And randomly we'll do episodes like this where we're like, no news. We have to talk about it now. So we go all in the Vornaclex there, how we think he got here, what happened. Obviously, we might just be wrong starting anytime now, but hopefully it comes out before then. One thing I will say is this card is very pushed. In defense of us not having touched too much about it, I think that a trampling 6 haste 6-drop is very good on its own, and add the fact that it has literally doubling season. Not literally doubling season. It has the non-token half of doubling season. The part that people thought they would never print again, right? They never thought they'd print something that let you just go off with Planeswalkers. I do think Planeswalkers, in standard at least, are worse. Not worse, are significantly less likely to just have I win the game attached to their ultimate like other ones used to. And in fact, many of them don't even ultimate or have like abilities like actually both of the ones. Nico doesn't win you the game. They don't even have an ultimate. They have multiple abilities they can do right ahead. Same as Tibble, right? Their ultimate exists, but it's just like exile graveyards, which is like draw a bunch of cards and make 4 mana. Having
Vornaclex is also really important in the Go Infinite, It's really important in the search my deck for all the Planeswalkers with doubling season deck people build sometimes because
modern.
it's a Hastings. Yeah, well, there's modern because it's a Hastings 6/6 with trample, so it's a great thing to have in the deck that is like makes your combo work, but also is a tremendous thing to search for to kill them with and win the game with as like a thing, and it has haste.
It is really cool in that deck also because it's a creature. So like one of the things doubling season was bad at is it's just a bad card. When you have the turn you play doubling season, it's terrible. The next turn, it's insane, but you have the entire turn on turn 5 that you'll die. Vornaclex, you play Vornaclex on your turn 6. And you have a hasty
You just
trampler
swing.
creature, and you swing for 6 damage.
Yeah.
You might just kill him. If that doesn't kill them, you have a blocker, and it does all the things, and can be like all of the planeswalkers that win by like getting doubling season to get an Emrakul, etc. You can Vorniclux in to play with those. So you can just like tick up Jace Architect of Thought, or the Amonkhet one, I think, is the other one that wins, the red green one, and just like get to him while controlling the board with your planeswalker. Play this. Next planeswalker you play, you win the game by like tutoring for Emrakul. So yeah, I think that's really cool. He's one spicy boy. Vorniclux is back, and we're gonna find out why sometime in the next 7 days. But that is it for today's preview episode. It is 4:00. It's gonna be a short hour, limited. This will live forever on YouTube. It'll be live. You can go check it out there. Please like and subscribe. Get ready for all of our other reviews on all the other cards that were leaked and previewed up to this point. We did a whole kind of starting set review, and we do a little bit of discussion on leaks next week. Once again, every Monday, make sure to follow here on Twitch, or check out the Twitch channel. We do live streams of Commander every Monday, as well as on the YouTube channel. We're now releasing content every day, so make sure to keep checking back every day. And thank you all. I am at Kess Wiley on all of the internet things.
You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media, Twitter and Instagram, where you can find me Ben Bateman Streaming on Twitch. I'll be getting back to that pretty soon here.
Yep. And we will talk to y'all on the internet and next episode.
All right. Bye, guys.